welcome to Global Strategies channel. I just want to let you guys know what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be doing company and industry updates, answering people's questions. So don't be afraid if you have any questions to send them over, and introducing members of the team. So who better to join us for the first video than CEO and Director Meris. Meris, how are you doing today?
Excellent. Hope you're doing good yourself.
I sure am. So let's kind of dive in here. Let's try to paint a picture of you and your past first. So tell us what got you interested in business. You've got a lot of experience. You got 3 decades in investment banking, financial consulting. I mean, you're a strong supporter of women and striving for executive positions and strong advocate for going global. So give us your story a little bit.
I was brought up in Montreal and I moved to Europe when I was about 20 years old. My family's been in the investment banking business my entire life, where we've been venture capitalists working in emerging growth companies and helping startups get to the next level. So I was brought into this business at the dining room table. This is the only business I've ever been in. I've always believed that you go from one beachhead to the other beachhead. And coming from Montreal, it was really easy. In Montreal, we always went directly to Europe. So for me, this is just what I've always done. I've never done anything else.
Wow. Okay. So it's a real bloodline for your family. So just kind of passed on to you, and you feel that strong passion with it, just like your parents?
100%. The smallest, today we call them startups. We used to call them emerging growth companies. You know, from the smallest companies come the biggest successes. And I'm all into this, and I love the public markets.
Okay. So tell me about some of your previous history then. Tell me about some of the things you've done so far.
I started when collagen was first coming into the healthcare industry. I started with the original diagnostic kits. My family was always interested in better wellness and global wellness and healthcare companies. Even the technology companies that we were involved in, it was all about health and wellness. And I've been in the cannabis industry for about 11 years. I started in the United States. Actually, today you're speaking to me from my hometown of Boca Raton, Florida. I commute between here and Vancouver. And here we are only still in medical cannabis. So my story begins where I've always been a believer of bettering yourself in order to go forward. And so this is where global wellness really began. It was always about health and wellness.
Yeah, about to say it plays directly into the name. That's interesting to get a little bit of origin and backstory on that. So then tell me from there, how did you become the CEO and director of it? Tell me that story.
About, my God, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we decided that we needed somebody to finance established companies or startups that have gotten past the deck. And so we created an incubator where we advised people. We helped them put their management plans together, and we gave them some money to start, much like a Shark Tank. You know, I watch Shark Tank often, much where you give people 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 to see how they go forward. What we realized is most of the time we were building the companies themselves. So on or about 6 months ago, we decided that we were going to start getting more involved in building brands ourselves, because what better for our investors? Our investors were always wondering why we were helping other people. That's how we began Global Wellness. And we decided to keep to the medical side of the business. You know, of course, some of these brands you could buy, you know, in Canada, we're so used to regulations. In the other countries, when we talk about wellness and medical products, they're not all regulated. Some of it, as we know, we can buy in our local health food stores, and it's what we eat.
That's true. That's true. We are. And it's interesting. You pivoted, you stuck to more of the medical side. And it is real interesting seeing the duality between the US and Canada when it comes to recreational, medicinal. I mean, I guess truthfully, the US is kind of all over the place with it. But yeah, interesting. So from there, tell me what your role is looking like on the day to day.
Oh my, Michael. I must tell you, I'm one of those early risers. I start, whether I'm in West Coast or whether I'm in the East Coast, my day begins at about 5 a.m.
Wow.
Every morning, because I believe that you have to read and you have to get ahead in our space, where we've always bordered on the cannabis space and the CBD. Regulations change sometimes overnight. So you have to be on top of it. I don't necessarily read about our competitors. I read about the space itself. I read about what plants people are looking at, what cannabinoids people are looking at, the terpenes. And I find between 5 and 8 o'clock in the morning is when I get most of my reading done. And I'll tag Europe. I work very closely with Israeli technology in the space. And then I go right into the market opens at 9:30. Once I call it the casino because, we're in small cap.
Yeah.
Once the casino opens, I read. I would actually say up until about 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm pretty much reading. And then we have a chat with our entire group. We have a large team. We only have 4 board members, but our team consists of people right across the globe, advisors that are excited to get into the space that we're entering. We are, I would say probably by about 2 o'clock, my day slows down, and then it starts up again at about 5 or 6 when everybody comes in and talks about, where they're heading. We are really focused as a company on revenue generation, which is very different. So we have to keep moving forward with our, I would say, marketing footprints, our distribution footprints, and my goal is by the end of August to have strong revenues coming in the door of the company. I'm a hands-on CEO. Let's just put it that way. I don't just sit back and watch everybody run around in circles. I'll clean the floors if I have to.
Fair enough. Yeah, it sounds like you have a jam-packed day. Would you say that your early morning vigilance, so to speak, is kind of inspired by your strong background as a swimmer? You really established that discipline early on?
I would have to say most athletes start early.
Mhm.
Did you ever play a sport yourself?
I was a wrestler.
Okay, so most athletes start early because we don't have time to do what other people do in a regular day because we always had a training session. So we always were more focused to get what other people did done more quickly. I mean, if that makes sense. Would I say I would actually say that we started training at 5 a.m. when I was young. So 5 a.m. was start date. And whenever I read about other people, whenever I read about other really successful people in the space, they always say between 5 and 7, they get a lot of the work done. So probably, I think from the sports point of view, it's the perseverance and never giving up that really has really, made me who I am.
That's true. Sports really does mold you at a young age. And I mean, as I don't want to get too into it, but as a kid, you should be involved with something that really, really helps you develop. And swimming is a really interesting one. What really drew you to that? If you want to just go a little bit deeper into yourself.
Oh, well, my father was a swimmer. my father was a water polo player. My daughter was a swimmer and she was a water polo player. I think as a family, my father was a competitive skier as well. We were athletes. If you grow up in an athletic family, it's just something that is part of, just the same way I learned this business. People say, where's your education? I said, it was at the dining room table. We swam. I was a distance swimmer. And so with distance swimming, and I think about wrestling, it's the last fall at the end that wins. With distance swimming, it's when you hit the wall at the end. So it's about, I always like to say that sports molded me. It also created endurance. But I have to be honest, I'm a, what do they call it? I'm an apple from the tree. That I didn't just wake up and decide to be a swimmer. This was what my family did. So I'm sorry. I'm not so exciting. I just was a part of my family and this is what we did.
Yeah, that's not true though. I mean, that's great. It's important to really instill those ideals in your children. And it's really interesting that both I would say the intelligence, your passions, your discipline was all really well molded. So Meris, thank you for coming on and thank you for sharing a lot about yourself. On the next video, everyone, will be diving deeper into the company. So if you have any questions you like answered, don't be afraid to send them over to us. Meris, do you have any parting words for people before we go?
Find a passion and stick with your passion. You might not know what it is, but in my situation, I've always come back to startups, emerging growth companies. They're the most exciting because when they're successful, there's nowhere,
Perfect. All
the
right,
most rewarding.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Follow your passion, or else, yeah, life will be a hard trot if you don't. So
100%. Thanks, Michael.
no problem. Thank you everyone for watching. Maris, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.